Hey, New York Jet fans from all around the world. Welcome to Laugh Through the Turbulence, a New York Jets podcast, the show that delivers you all your Jets content. Here are your hosts, John, Adden, and Monty. All the best to the New York Jet fans. J-E-T-S, Jets, 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 go Jets.
All right, welcome to Laugh Through the Turbulence, a New York Jets podcast. We're your hosts. I think we did the timing of the video right, finally, right? You know,
yeah,
countdown removed and all that, but I'll probably bring back the countdown at some point. You know, that's cool. You got Monty, Adnan, or Adden as
Adnan.
Listen, that's what all my teachers in high school called me, so I am used to it.
Yeah. I don't know. How did that work out? Do you think like he Googled how to say your name, or you just kind of went with whatever he felt like?
I think he just went with whatever he saw on the screen.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got a couple topics to go through today. Wait, let me get my banners up and going. Sorry, I did not do that. There we go. This is episode 8, right? And we're just going to get into it. And I'm just going to wave like this just so I know how to do the segment stuff. But I think the first topic we're going to talk about before we get into free agency and the combine stuff is this AVT fifth-year option thing that might be a decision to make for the New York Jets. Basically, AVT is 3 years into the league. He's had 2 seasons where he is basically had the season come to an abrupt end due to injuries. But in all 3 years, he's shown promise, especially as a run blocker. Year 2, I'd say he was a better pass blocker than he was in year 3. But either way, still a very, very good blocker, and the Jets are way better with him than without him. Absolutely. And the question is going to be coming up fairly soon with Joe Douglas, whether or not he wants to extend AVT his 5th-year option. So I guess the question is, do the Jets do it? Who would like to go first? You know, I'm just going to say, Monty, you go first.
Well, I think we should kind of talk about, first of all, what's that, what's that 5th-year option figure? I think it was, what was it, like 13 mil?
Depends on the position, but yeah, all O linemen, regardless of the position, are basically categorized as the same. So there's no positional value for him being classified as a guard or tackle.
Right. But as an O lineman, then, excuse me.
Yeah, I believe you're right on that number, but it would have been nice if one of us came prepared and kind of did that,
Well, while you're looking that up, the money's important. It's not the deciding factor. It's, honestly, for me, it's kind of a hard question because, he got hurt twice, both times in Denver, right? We're not playing Denver this year, right? But, maybe we play them again the year after. Who knows? It's the injuries for me. When you miss that much time already, in your first contract, it makes me a little bit on the fence on whether to bring you back. It's, kind of similar situation with Becton, although Becton has not been good. At least AVT has been good. We know he's good. We know he's a good, a team player, locker room guy. We know he's not, kind of one of those me type players. I really love that about him. But at the same time, I'm a little bit on the fence. I think if I had to, gun to my head, I would say, we extend the option. But I think that's a lot deeper of a decision than it may look on its surface. A lot of Jet fans, they're all like, oh yeah, AVT, he's been the best, blah blah blah, we got to bring him back. But if we bring him back again and then he goes down for now a 3rd year in a row, that's a huge loss for us. And if we don't have the right depth at that position, it could be catastrophic, and it could be kind of almost a repeat of last year.
Okay. Adnan, you want to go?
Yeah, I would say definitively they should not exercise the option, right? You got to see if he's going to give you a full year of health. If he does, then you can franchise him, right? Which you would have to do because he'd be coming off of a completely healthy season, he's going to be one of the best offensive linemen in the league. So you wouldn't be able to let him go. I just looked at the franchise tag numbers, and it looks like for offensive linemen for 2025 or for 2024, I'm sorry, it was projected to be at 20 million around. So that's what it'll be, a little bit higher next year.
21, 22.
Yeah, 21, 22, somewhere around there. So that's going to be a high number to franchise somebody. So hopefully they'll be able to franchise him and come to a long-term contract with him. But I just think you can't risk picking up that fifth-year option and risking injury. You know, he gets hurt again. Like you said, Monty, it would be devastating for the team. It would be even more devastating if you have that fifth-year option. And if he gets hurt later in the year, maybe can't play a full season next year. So I think you definitely got to, err on the side of caution. Don't pick it up with the intent to franchise and sign him long-term if he proves to be healthy all season.
Well, I mean, what hurts us more, does taking the fifth-year option or giving him a deal when he proves himself, I say will, but hopefully, if he proves himself, next season, maybe we just give him a big fat deal.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think, from my perspective, is like, I think you just have to wait and see on his health. I think that's kind of the biggest thing to me. Obviously, if you were healthy, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. They'd give him the fifth year, the second he was eligible, So I think that's my concern. That's going to be a theme for me throughout everything we talk about today.
Injuries,
I want nothing to do with injured players, So that's kind of where I come from on this. John, what do you think, buddy?
Okay, here we go. So this is how I see it, right? One, these are not the same injuries that AVT's had. They're both, one of them was a torn pec, which was very fluky, right? At Denver, right? And then we had a torn Achilles on a grass field, also at Denver. Mind you this, we are not scheduled to go to Denver until 2029, although it can be earlier based on the way the seedings work. But here's how I see it, right? So if you look at the free agency class today, right? And guys and what they're projected to get for the level of talent that is out there today, right? One example would be, I guess, Jonah Williams, right? Who is projected to make a 4-year, $60 million contract with $37.5 million guaranteed, which is basically $15 million a year on average. Now, Jonah Williams versus AVT, who has been the better player in the league? And the answer simply is AVT, no question, even without the injuries, right? So essentially what I'm telling you is, regardless, AVT is going to cost more. And even if you're going to try and get that type of caliber player, it's going to cost you that much anyway. So my thinking is, because these injuries are not the same injuries, so it's not like with David Bakhtiari where it's the same knee over and over again, right? These are totally different things. And also, mind you, this could be a situation where AVT's been moving around so much that different muscles are working differently at different times. So it could be a whole lot of things that are very fluky, just like Becton having 2 consecutive injuries and all of a sudden being able to basically make it the whole year without missing a game. He missed 1. But basically, so my question to you is this, I guess the question, the statement I want to pose is that, hey, I think he's worth it. And you don't have to determine whether or not you have to do it until May 2nd. So you can see how this Achilles injury heals until then and kind of make the decision last minute, which is why I felt that this conversation in our side chat was not worth having at this point, because you still have 2 months to do it, or not 2 months, but a little under 2 months, right? Daylight savings, things that will happen before you have to make that decision. So honestly, I think it's okay if you don't have to make that decision right now. I think if the health reports are good, which they probably will be because it's AVT, you can do it. And also, he's a very good player when he plays. So I think they should do it before, and obviously they shouldn't have done it with Becton, right? And it proved out this year. But
absolutely.
Becton missed 2 consecutive without really taking a snap, right? Whereas AVT got hurt, missed the year, came back, looked good, then missed another year, but a different injury, right? Not a knee injury, which would be the biggest concern, right?
Yeah.
Which is still a concern, yes, but not as much as a reoccurring injury like Becton had with his knees.
So just a note, on injuries, as we know, medical science is always developing. It's always doing new research, new studies, things of that nature. It's, something that I've worked in healthcare for a very long time. I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but I do read, quite a bit, especially this particular subject has become a little bit of an interest for me just because of the fact that the Jets have dealt with so many damn injuries over the past few years, and it's freaking ridiculous, and I don't understand it. So in trying to understand it
Dr.
more,
Monty, what do you got for us? Dr. Monty,
in trying to understand it more, there have been multiple studies that have basically alluded to the fact that some people are injury prone in a more broad sense. Not necessarily that, it's just this one bum knee or whatever, that some people are effectively just built a little bit less, their connective tissue or their bone density or various factors in their body genetically are just not as, I guess, durable as other people. This is something that is being, more and more generally accepted as fact, that there are differences. And if you think about it, it makes sense. There are some people in every, look at, sports, MMA fighters, boxing. Some guys can take a punch and just keep coming. Some guys can't. Some guys, take one hit and they get knocked out, but they're amazing athletes, and it doesn't make sense. But, it's just worth noting that there is a possibility that there are athletes who deal with, injuries of a broad nature. And, I think that's something that we're going to learn more and more about in coming time. And we don't want to, I think that there's a possibility that someone like AVT, who we start seeing, get 2 back-to-back catastrophic season ender injuries, I think it's worth considering that maybe it's not just a fluke.
Agreed.
Well, all right. So hang on. My dad's a doctor. So he's more of a doctor than Monty. So I'm more of a Dr. Monty than Ted. But here we go. The pec injury is not a catastrophic injury by any means. It's just something that has to get fixed. Right?
When I say catastrophic, I mean catastrophic enough to make you miss an entire season of football.
But it's not like,
it is catastrophic.
He couldn't lift weights ever again. He couldn't jerk off.
I'm not saying it's a career ender. Career enders are super rare now.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I think to be fair, once again, we have 2 months till that decision has to be made. And I think they're going to do it anyway, because everyone likes AVT.
Yeah.
In that building. We like AVT.
Yep.
So, I mean, and we got to see at least enough of him in these last 2 years with the season ending injury that we can actually evaluate him on the performance level. Whereas like Becton, you only saw a half with Carolina, then he was gone. And then he tried to come back. We didn't get to see any of it besides the murmurs that Carl Lawson was just an animal. And then who knows? Anyway, I just want to say, because my dad's a doctor, I'm technically a doctor. So, yeah.
I just am erring, a little bit more on the side of Adnan in this case, just because I'm just sick of the injuries, over and over and over on this damn team, that, if there's any hint of that kind of of that propensity, I don't even want to deal with it.
And it's so funny, right? When we do this, you guys say stuff and I start to like rethink my point. And I feel like with the 5th year option, now that you look at the numbers, I think the 5th year at projected 15.3 is more palatable, whether he suffers an injury or not, than franchising him, re-upping him, right? So I think like the more that you look at the numbers, I think it makes just financial sense to go ahead and pick up the option. You know what I mean? So I think you guys swayed me. So good job.
Well, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are we done with this fucking conversation, and we can talk about it in 2 months when it does or does not happen?
Let's see.
Okay, cool. So we want to do combine then, right?
Yeah, let's jump into the combine a little bit.
Combine. Okay. Oh, also just real quick, I just want to do this happy birthday to Mrs. Smokey from Jersey.
Yes.
She
happy
basically laughed at the comment. I said it to her just like that, basically, and she actually liked it. So I think she's calmed down from Smokey from Jersey's previous appearance. Realizing the show gets no viewers anyway. But anyway, so here we go. Combine recap. So what do you guys think of the combine besides what's his face breaking the 40 time record? Although Bo Jackson has it. Let's just be real.
I mean, Bo Jackson is the man. So what I found interesting about the combine, right? One is the Jets picking at 10. There's a lot of talent exactly at the positions that they need, right? So, I mean, they're walking away with a high level offensive tackle. If they want a wide receiver, if they can, really work the offensive line in the offseason, Brock Bowers is just ridiculous. So I think there was a lot of good, but after kind of just hearing about it, watching the combine, Alt might be a pipe dream, but I think Fuaga would just be a perfect fit at 10. If you can get him there, regardless of what happens with the offensive line in the offseason or during free agency, I think Fuaga is just going to be an incredible player no matter who drafts him, and I do hope it's the Jets. Everything I read, he interviewed spectacularly, and he's had such a great college career. I think I would like that to be the move. Outside of that, I think one of the biggest misnomers that comes out of the combine in general is or one of the things we overvalue, should I say, is 40 time. Because if you look at most of the guys who ran an extremely fast 40, most of them don't have standout careers. So I think when looking at 40 time, you do have to take that with a grain of salt and just not say, this guy runs a 4.38. We're moving him up our draft board just because of that. So I think that was my
Miami definitely will.
Yeah, absolutely, exactly. Which plays to the benefits of the Jets because that's usually not a great pick. But I think those are kind of my two big things. The offensive tackles really stood out. The wide receivers really stood out. And that really solidifies things for the Jets, I think, and being in a great position at 10. And additionally, I think 40 times are vastly overrated. Monty, what about you? What do you think about the combine?
Yeah, man. I mean, great, obviously great combine. We saw some really cool additions, like technology wise this year. Like, did you see the shadow run? Like, basically they would have like one like person running the drill and then another person running the drill at the same time, superimposed at this, and kind of like have them pacing each other. It was really, really cool. So stuff like that. I love to see that sort of stuff. But in general, exactly what you said was, you really hit the nail on the head. We are definitely walking into a very loaded draft. We have, we have Joe Douglas who knows his way around talent. Hopefully, I mean, we've seen him crush it, and we've seen him not do so great when it comes to O-line. So hopefully with this line, hopefully with this after this combine, which is just dripping with talent, as we saw. It's definitely going to be an easy slam dunk for him. I actually went ahead and I did a little, just kind of like, a little test of kind of what the news outlets and stuff are saying and projecting and feeling. So just kind of wanted to go down the line really quick. After the results of the combine, CBS, they're projecting that we pick up Fuaga. Bleacher Report is predicting that we pick up Fuaga. Sports Illustrated is also predicting that we pick up Fuaga. USA Today they had multiple people on there, so they're saying that we either get Fashanu or Bowers. SB Nation is saying we get Fuaga, and ESPN is saying that we likely get Fashanu. And just looking at their times, like
Fashanu. Come on, man. I made that one guy to say my name and he got it right. He can't even get it right. And you're
Fashanu? Sure. Okay, great. Fashanu. I'll have it right by the season if he gets it. I honestly at this point he's not a Jet yet, so I don't care. but yeah, so we got a ton of we got a ton of looks thinking that we get Fuaga. So I mean I like Fuaga a lot.
Yep.
But I think Fashanu is or like Keanu Fashanu is definitely a solid pickup for us as well.
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed.
All right, now I'm going to talk for a little while because I have an article that I got from unexpectedpoints.substack.com. What it basically does, it looks at all the combine drills, right? By position. And it basically says, hey, how does it affect the draft stock for someone and also the value of the player for the first 3 years, if that makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it might be something interesting, and maybe I'll share the link in the thing or whatever. Maybe I won't. Yeah. Who knows? Oh, I gotta basically remove this from the stage. Okay, before I add a new thing. So I had something else prepared, which I'll bring back later. But basically, here's how it works, right? And I think Adnan has some truth to it, basically, with the 40 time. But basically, I have it by different positions, right? The 40 time is one of the things that gets overvalued in the draft, especially for offensive tackles. But as you can tell, the red bar is basically the thing that is the most valuable in terms of what it means for a player going to the draft, right? And as you can tell, the vertical, for some reason, is higher than I thought it would be, right? But apparently it's there. Arm length is something too, and this 3-cone drill is also something there. But also the 40 does have some correlation there, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Now, if you want to go to interior, right, and obviously Becton would be high because he was a freaking massive dude. When you go to the interior offensive line, the 3-cone is really the thing that's what's up. The 40 time basically is overvalued, means nothing, right? But I thought that was oh wait, you guys can't see it because of the little thing. I think that's very interesting as well, right? The 3-cone and the shuttle is really important too, and that makes sense. And then when you go to wide receiver, which I think is up here now, it's tight end. This would be wide receiver. Guess what matters there? Oh yeah, the 40. Yeah. Yeah. The wide receivers, obviously the 40 would matter, right? And weight is also for some reason.
That's interesting.
But people just rule over the 40 too, right? So it's just, I just think that's very interesting.
Yeah, but the weight is kind of standing out to me here. What do they mean by that? Like how slim or how like diesel they are?
I think that's a good question, but I think that would benefit the guys like the A.J. Browns that are a little bit bigger. Let's see, weight. Yeah, so the way it's shaded here it would tell you that more weight is good.
Interesting.
That's kind of fair. I can see that. But what's interesting to me is like the NFL, the value when it comes to like 3-cone and the shuttle for wide receivers. Like I feel like that should translate more, right? Like that shouldn't be a negative. In terms
Honestly,
of like
the 3-cone, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's like a very basic agility drill, but like vertical is crazy.
Yeah, vertical
being the least here on this whole list. The vertical is crazy. Like how like receivers jump all the time.
And the other thing with the vertical is it doesn't just measure, like obviously it measures being able to jump high, but it also has some correlation with just overall explosiveness, right? And so, like, I feel like the guys who have a high vertical are also more explosive than guys that don't. So this wide receiver piece is really interesting to me because, like, if you look at something like the shuttle, you know, that kind of gauges, you know, your foot speed in short areas, which is important for receivers. Yeah, when you're coming in and out of cuts and breaks. So this is really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So this was a good idea to share this, right? And hopefully these don't come after us for sharing. I
think this is a public domain.
It's public domain. Check out here in the meantime because I think every one of them is here.
Yep.
I don't know. You want to do quarterbacks too? Because that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, let's look at quarterbacks.
Let's keep it going.
Yeah, for the hell of it, right? I think it's here. Let me see if it's here. It may not be. Nope, it's not here. Sorry. Okay, so forget it. Running back was interesting though. 3-cone actually made the most sense. That looks more like what receivers.
What I expected for receivers, yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Wow.
Yeah, and then I guess we want to do tight ends. That's the other one that's on this page. There's a defensive one too. I just didn't have it open, and we don't really care.
Yeah, I don't think we're really not looking at defensive.
But when you talk about Brock Bowers, 40 is way overrated, right? And
Yeah.
that would make sense, right? I guess weight, yeah, that makes sense.
Weight makes sense, yeah.
Count is also very big too, so that makes sense. Okay, so we're done with this, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
that makes sense. But that was
All
interesting.
right, so here's what I thought about the combine, right? It was like his RAS score was like in the 92 percentile.
Yeah.
Which basically means like, yeah, that guy's just gonna be really good at football, right?
Yep.
That one might be worth trading up for. I hate to say it, but there's so much talent in this draft, right? And that's why not having that second round pick really sucks this year, right?
I know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
but
I would think it'd be really interesting. I would think maybe Joe would try to also get another first round pick somehow by trading away future picks for this year, just because it's such a good draft, right? Or like trading everything in the back end just to get as high up as possible for that second pick that we have, or trade back the first because the talent is so good. Minus the one guy who said there's no such thing as space. That was you guys heard that, right?
Yeah, guys,
That was crazy to me. I'm like, you went to college, bro. How did you go to college?
He said there aren't any other planets. Like, what are you kidding me?
Yeah, that was really great. Maybe he was just joking. He's just getting the whole gist of the whole thing.
Oh man, I hope.
At least he didn't have a Des Bryant interview question where he was asking about his mom being a prostitute.
Yeah, dude. Like some of these questions are just insane.
At least that was fun and all that. But yeah, everyone sounded like that made sense, right? Just in terms of being a prospect, right? But Latham, I think, is the one that is the most intriguing. And I've been reading a lot of Joe Blewett on that one. I mean, that might be the best guy in the whole group. And he actually might be tackle number 2 off the board, especially with the Fashanu injury, because he half or something like that during it, which means nothing because like the guy has till like
he's got a whole 6 months plus to rehab it. So.
But who knows? Maybe that hurts his stock a little bit. I don't know. I'm just very excited to see kind of what comes up from it, right?
And and it definitely, from all the projections, it did hurt his stock because Fashanu is like mid round in a lot of these mocks now. Whereas he was right there neck and neck, at right around our pick. Now he's like, getting picked up by the Saints and the Rams and a lot of like mid-round teams. So it definitely hurt his stock.
Yeah. And the wide receivers just look so freaking good.
Or at least the perception.
I think the wide receivers are the most talented people in this draft. If you look at some of these guys, I mean, yes, Marvin Harrison.
Wide receivers they're both the neck and neck in terms of
dude, Neighbors. I mean, Odunze, all of them are just
that's what I was going to say.
Incredible. Like, he would be awesome at 10.
Well, here's the thing that really interested me, right? With the way this free agency is kind of started, and it hasn't officially started, but you've been hearing a couple of things happening with players getting released, some earlier signings with teams that are retaining guys, and somehow Bill's got Mitch Trubisky, so whatever on that. But none of the tackles have been signed yet, which is interesting. But when it comes to the wide receiver market, and the Jets are in the wide receiver market, it seems like, or it appears to be, all of them are getting tagged. The big guys, right? So who was tagged? We had Higgins gone, Pittman's gone. Evans got the 2-year deal, and apparently it's not 50-something mil. I saw somewhere it's 2 years for 42 mil, which seems it makes more sense, right? But basically, the high-end portion is gone, and I mean, the only guys that are really going to be available of the high end would be Calvin Ridley, right? Because Josh Allen got the tag from Jacksonville, so they're not tagging him, and if they do sign Calvin Ridley, they have to fork over a second-round pick as well. So it's going to be a bidding war for him. So it might be interesting to just wrap up the O-line in free agency entirely and then just spend that pick on the best available wide receiver at this point because that's so good. It's an option, but it's intriguing just because you're not going to get the high-end talent that you could get, there that you could in the draft. So
on that note, I could totally see us doing exactly what you said and then picking up Brock Bowers in the first round.
Yeah, just an offensive.
CJ's gone. I forgot to mention that we were going to talk about that, but I guess we want to talk about that now too, or all anything like that. CJ Uzomah. Do you guys care enough to talk about it or no?
I mean, look, it saved $5 million and change on the cap, so that helps.
It didn't work out. Failed signing.
Marginal player for the Jets. Wish him all the best. Hopefully he catches on somewhere. But I think we don't need to really belabor Uzomah too much.
Yeah, he could have been a lot. He probably would have been a lot more viable had Rodgers not gone down. A lot of things would have been a lot more viable had Rodgers not gone down. But unfortunately, Rodgers did go down, and CJ just couldn't hack it, couldn't cut it, wasn't impactful, and
he was a good culture guy. I hate to say it.
Yeah, he's great for the pictures and hanging out with Rodgers and being in the media and shit like that. But at the end of the day, rubber's got to meet the road.
Right, and I think they have tons of culture guys. I feel like So.
Yeah, I will say this about Uzomah. Like I know he gets.
I like him.
I know he gets a lot of shit for the holding call in the Raiders game, but he was by far the best blocking
tight end. Absolutely.
Yeah. But that's not supposed to be their primary responsibility all the time, like it was with the Jets this year because of right line issues. So I guess we didn't get to see it. It's another failed experiment. I don't think it's too much of a failed signing per se. It just didn't work out because once again, the tight end is unlike an offensive line or a quarterback signing. Quarterback obviously will be way more important. Offensive line is less dependent on something else happening, right? Mm-hmm. But tight end has some dependency on there, so maybe for that reason it didn't work out as well.
No, that's fair, but
that's a fair logical way of saying it, but yeah.
And I think when we look at Uzomah, I think like kind of transitioning maybe a little bit into like free agency. I think the obvious cuts have been made, right? So now we have to be on the lookout for some restructures. The legal tampering period starts on Monday, which is crazy. So we're gonna start, seeing some real movement here in the next few days.
Absolutely.
We're gonna be doing that instead of talking about it, we're gonna be interviewing Izzy. So
exactly.
Exactly.
So as of now, our cap situation is what we're like 20, 21, 25.
It's around 25 million, I think.
25, something like that million. And then I was doing some reading today. I've read that through restructures and things of that nature, the Jets could free up as much as 60 million in cap space. If everything goes our way, probably a more realistic assumption or estimation would probably be more like 40 to 50 million when it's all said and done, but it could be up to 60, 67, something like that. And that gives us a lot of room to make some moves.
Yeah, and I think there are some obvious restructures that can be done pretty easily, to get to a number that really helps to bring in some talent. Another thing, that's correlated to free agency is if I'm Joe Douglas, man, I pick up the phone and Monty, I call San Francisco and say, let's get something done here for Ayuk. Let's get something done here. Trade. I would trade, both fourths this year and a second next year or whatever they want. I'd trade a first next year for him. To get him in here.
It's not happening. Just think about it. Ayuk is he's like $1.5 million salary cap hit this year. He's too valuable. I mean, basically, to acquire him would be first round pick this year, kind of thing.
Perhaps, but if he refuses to play,
a lot, man, because that's 4 years of control, maybe 5.
But if he refuses, if he's like, I want out, right? They got to make a move, and it's just an intriguing thought, because they're going to have to get creative at receiver because I can't see Douglas paying what it's going to cost to Ridley because you're going to have to overpay. They're going to be.
We want to go to the wide receiver chart I have developed.
Why don't
he's one as well because Monty came up with something too because he saw my Excel skills and was like, I want to do that too.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Sure.
Here's this one. I'm going to remove the free agency thing over here so you can see everything. But basically, the way this works, right? I also put if anything happened as a result over here. I just didn't label it up here, so my apologies. But basically, the top 3 are gone, right? Ridley is looking for $17 million a year on average, which I think it's a lot for that, but might be worth it considering the production is pretty decent, right? The age is the one thing, though. With that production, this is going to dip, right? Because he's 29 something. And this is as of a month ago. So this is 29-2 now. But yeah, I mean, I think these names kind of starting to make more sense. And also Michael Thomas just got cut recently. So that's really interesting in itself too. I mean, God, let me ask you this, man. Michael Thomas, $8 million or less. Do you do that? Because that's
absolutely not.
Okay,
absolutely not. I don't want the injury headache.
He's so washed, bro. Yeah. Like if you play fantasy football, you know Michael Thomas is washed.
I understand, but all right, let's say it's less. Let's say Michael Thomas for $4 million, the McCall Hardman deal. Do you do that?
I don't know, man. I just
no, because listen.
You don't say Michael Thomas upside for $4 million?
A bad deal at any price is still a bad deal, right?
Exactly.
So it's like, it doesn't matter if we're trading him, for a Big Mac and some fries and a pack of Newports. Like, it doesn't matter because he's going to end up, he's going to end up playing, or he's going to complain, or he's going to get hurt, or, any of the number of things, because we've seen that he can be kind of like a complainer kind of guy. We can see that he's had some definite injury issues in his career. And we've seen that he just hasn't been as productive in these last, 3-4 years now, or whatever, since his number one, season where he's the number one receiver. Like, I don't know. I'm not really interested in
all right. So now that I have the guys that are actually available, right? I think everyone here is still technically available. Do you like the idea of maybe just signing 2 guys that are under 10 mil each?
100%. I think
with Rodgers' ability to elevate them, I think that makes sense.
I mean, like, why don't you do like a Josh Reynolds? Because Josh Reynolds,
I was just gonna say that.
You got good rate, good WAR as well. PFF WAR. Sorry, I stole this from PFF. Don't sue us, PFF. Okay, right, Mark. And basically, maybe KJ Osborne makes a little sense too because the WAR is pretty decent. Well, actually, that grade sucks. Holy shit, that grade sucks.
I feel like a guy like Curtis Samuel. I know, Monty, we were talking about this off camera. Like, he's kind of a Swiss Army type of guy.
Debo Samuel light.
Yeah, I mean, very, very light. But he's a player. If you can sign him and, a Josh Reynolds or a Noah Brown or, even Gabe Davis, if you can sign 2 of the, well, Mooney might be a little bit too expensive, but you know what I'm saying. If you can sign 2 of those guys, because I'm going to be much more comfortable sleeping at night knowing that Lazard is the 4 instead of the 3, right? Yeah. Like, that is, I think, is a big thing we kind of have to look at. And I think if you sign 2 of those guys, it doesn't, take you out of drafting a receiver at 10. Right, I feel like if you sign a guy like Ridley, it might take that off the table. You know,
interesting with that. I think no matter what, because of what you paid Lazard, he's going to be the number 3. So the way I see it, you're basically like, and maybe the number 4 in the event that something happens, right? And also, like, when he's with Rodgers, he actually performs. When he's not with Rodgers, everything falls apart the way we saw it. So, like, I maybe give him a pass on everything that fell apart last year on that offense, right? And him just not being that appreciably great to overcome that, like Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall are, and then Conklin's pretty solid too, right? So, like, maybe, like, I don't know. Why don't you? Yeah, Kendrick Bourne is the name that's really interesting because although the Patriots have a lot of cap, so they might.
That's the thing, man. They have a
lot
of cap space.
Yeah, Gabe Davis is definitely on the market. That's interesting in itself, and that actually might be the right name. And just do 1 there, and then give yourself an option to get another receiver in the draft, right? Maybe not pick 10, but maybe a later pick, or bring back in another scoop of a pick, right?
Yeah. So I have my if you want to.
Yeah. Why don't I share your screen so you can?
Hold on 1 second. It's interesting to me that OBJ has the highest PFF grade. Like, that's kind of that's interesting to me. I want no part of him, but. If we're going by that, he's the best receiver on this list.
Maybe the best value. Yeah. So Nanny
you
actually
know?
was talking about him today. He's actually kind of starting to lean to saying he's okay with OBJ, considering everything that's coming off the table now in terms of availability and the need to draft that position. But anyway, let's go to Monty real quick and his little screen share. Let's see what you did. Did you do anything?
Yeah, I mean, so pretty much I just went with kind of the kind of the top 11 here. It really was meant to be top 10, but I these guys I couldn't leave out because I think all these guys make for pretty good pickups for the Jets. And I just kind of ranked them here just based on production. Obviously, that's not necessarily their top end. I think Darnell Mooney's a lot better than what he produced last season. I'm not a big fan of Hollywood Brown, for example. But
what are you sorting by, if anything here? Nothing, right?
It's touchdowns and yards pretty much. I mean, it's not necessarily because it's kind of out of order there, but that's
fair enough.
Yeah. So essentially, we have Calvin Ridley at the top. I mean, I think that's huge. I think he profiles a little bit too close to Garrett Wilson, though. I've said that before. I think it's like another Garrett Wilson. I mean, which again is great, but I think I'd maybe rather someone with a little bit different of a skill set. I don't know how you guys feel about that, about them profiling close like that. But I think if Ridley is available and we can afford him, I think you get Calvin Ridley. I think, the guy takes 2 years off.
Affordability is the question.
True. I mean, the guy takes 2 years off, comes back in, pops a 1,000-yard, 8-touchdown season. I mean, he's if he can be afforded, I think you get him. Gabe Davis.
Reminder: the projection for him is 3 years, 30 guaranteed, 51 total, which would be 17 a year.
Yeah. So which is a pretty penny. So Gabe Davis, how do we feel about Gabe Davis? Because I had him here kind of as like my second here.
Yeah, I feel like with Gabe Davis, he he disappears a lot. And like you saw that with Buffalo, he'll have a game where he has 6 catches for 160 yards and 3 touchdowns, and then the next 5 games he averages 35 yards a game, right? Being a little facetious, but I just feel like you need someone a little bit more consistent next to Garrett Wilson, because the whole point is to get Garrett Wilson more one-on-ones. And that's why a guy like Ridley, because you have to pay attention to him, right? Even if it's a similar skill set, you do have to kind of pay attention to Ridley, I think more so than anyone on this list. John, what do you think about Gabe Davis?
Okay, so I forgot if it was Blewett or it's one of the guys from Dress X Factor, and they do a really great job of doing all this coverage stuff, right? But basically, what they were saying, or somebody was basically saying that like Gabe Davis was basically like more responsible for failure from Josh Allen trying to get him the ball than Josh Allen being a failure at that point. And one stat here that's kind of interesting is that contested catch or that catch percentage right there being kind of low for something that's kind of seen more as a higher end talent on this list, right? I mean, if you look at this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, basically, if you sorted by the catch percentage, which is column N, right? It's Ridley numbers as well, but Ridley, was mixed as well this year, right? He was a little bit of underperformer on that one. So that's interesting in itself. Marquise Brown obviously would have a bad catch percentage given the QB situation there, but like Gabe Dave, now I ruined everything for you.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. Just undo everything. Don't even bother.
Just undo. Yeah, just undo.
You screwed up. Monty doesn't know Excel like
I'm trying to do.
So this is awesome. Hit the undo button. Control Z.
Yes.
Stick with that. Don't even, because you didn't have that column sorted. That's your
that's sorted originally. That's why.
Okay, so don't even bother. Okay, so basically
because this whole thing is filtered. There's a lot more receivers in here, but I filtered basically the ones that's why that happened. So
okay, but there's no contested catch percentage here, but it's catch percentage here, right?
Yeah.
Ridley and Gabe Davis had good quarterbacks, right? Trevor is a good quarterback. I don't care what anyone says. He's a good quarterback.
Yep.
That whole coaching staff is getting fired, except for Peterson. But basically, like it's him that's next, right? But basically, if you look at everybody here, Carolina, DJ Chark has a lower percentage. That makes sense because Bryce Young was in a really bad situation. I don't think he's that bad, but he was in a really bad situation. Arizona, Kyler Murray didn't really kick in until towards the end of the year. Boyd obviously would have a very high percentage, which makes a lot of sense too, but he's 29. which is interesting in itself.
Yeah, so that's their age, by the way. That's the age they will be next season. So basically, I looked at their birthdays, and that's what they will be next season. So like a lot of these guys, like Calvin Ridley, doesn't turn
He's 29.2 today. That's basically
right.
what
So
it
he turns 30 after the season, but he'll be 29 during the season. And like Tyler Boyd will be 29, turning 30 in the season. Same with Odell turning 32, etc.
Okay, but basically, like, it's a little concerning that Gabe Davis, does have those issues, right?
But he's young.
And right now on this list for projections, it looks like a $12 million a year deal, which is another Lazard deal.
Gotcha.
I don't think he can do that. So I think I'm out on him. I'm in on Tyler Boyd, though, which is basically the same production, well, I wouldn't say the same production because, Burrow was out, right? But he did have a productive year the year before, right?
Yeah.
When Burrow was available. So, like, that kind of makes a little more sense to me. Curtis Samuel makes a lot of sense to me too because I think
I like Curtis. I think I'm liking Curtis Samuel more and more the more I do the research, the more I dig into it. I like his skill set. He's variable. We can use him, in a bunch of different ways. He's got great hands. Great, obviously great catch percentage here.
And stats there. Look at you. So and that's like with like Gibson was, or he'd be a better version of Gibson.
Yeah, and with Samuel, obviously his yards per reception weren't like amazing, but that could be related to like ADOT or stuff like that, and that could be quarterback dependent. We don't know, but what we do know is that he had a lot of action. He had a lot of targets, and he was able to catch a lot of passes, pulling some touchdowns, and that was on a very on a sputtering offense. I like him more and more. What's his projection?
Okay, so it's $9 million a year on 2 years with 11.5 guaranteed, so 18 total, and his PFF grade was 69.7, which is actually pretty decent.
I think that might be it. But one thing to kind of keep in mind too is don't sleep on Odell Beckham Jr. I don't want anything to do with him, but the Jets did last season.
Right.
And he's the type of veteran that someone like I could see Rodgers wanting someone like that he just can trust on the play, someone who's talented, who can get open. I mean, his PFF grade was the highest among the free agent receivers that we have there.
But it's Baltimore, so and they had 4 first-round picks at wide receiver last year, which is incredible. To get a group like that and not win the Super Bowl. It is what it is. Anyway, all right. So I'm going to steal screen again because whatever I can do whatever the hell I want. All right. So now I'm going to go to the tackle room, right? Which is no one's signed from this whole group, which is so interesting. Because like you would have thought, Onwenu is not going to be tagged, which was a rumor, right? And they decided to go with the safety from the Patriots getting the tag. So that's a thing in itself too. So maybe, and he's a guy that can basically be put at guard and tackle. So that's very interesting. 14.5 though is not cheap though, and it's basically but who knows if they decide to do that? It might make sense to do that. Tyron Smith, I know we talked about it because sometimes he gets hurt, but he always is there for the playoffs. He's the best of the best in this group, and $10 million is not something for that level.
It's not bad for that level of talent at all. It's a great deal, in my opinion.
I'd say if Bakhtiari was half of that, go for it. Especially the way he chugs beers. But, you're more likely considering that David Bakhtiari is super tight with Aaron Rodgers.
I don't even want to talk about David Bakhtiari. Let's just not say his name again.
Yeah. If you say his name 3 times in front of a mirror, he jumps out and joins the Jets. And
exactly.
Really quickly, and another one.
I think
we're gonna ask Izzy about him next week. About the beer chugging thing. So who knows?
We'll see what he says.
Fans interesting too. Fans really interesting too.
Yeah, I mean, bringing him back would be interesting.
Keep him though. To be totally honest,
if you're looking at Trent Brown, he's had injuries too.
The age. It's the age.
It's like, and the age.
The age too, but the age is the concern with them.
Yeah, I think you got to get one guy off this list, and I don't think 14.5 is a lot for Onwenu. You know, I think like with the versatility that he has, if you're gonna pay big money for one guy, I would probably pay him, and maybe you put him at right tackle, book him, bookend him with AVT, or you keep AVT at guard. Or can he play left tackle and then you draft a right tackle? I think he gives you a lot of flexibility, and you'll now have 3 guys that can play all over the offensive line, right? So
Yeah.
I think like that versatility is really important.
Okay, now I want to talk about this name because he's a Jersey boy or something like that, Donovan Smith. I know he had a bad season, but he got away with a lot of holding calls in the Super Bowl.
He really did. And I mean, interestingly enough, right? He said he would love to play for the Jets, which is
I mean, listen, who wouldn't want to play for us if we have Rodgers, for at least most of the season. We would be a good team.
Yeah, I think I you know what? Like he gets away with the holding call, so be it. Like maybe why not?
I mean, look,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not going to
because he's a Chief.
Yeah,
he won't be a Chief next year.
but
all right. What about? Yeah, go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, I think that bringing a guy like him in with Rodgers, I'd feel much more comfortable than if they brought him in, without a guy like Rodgers, because like you always say, John, I feel like he just makes life easier for offensive linemen. And I think he's better at that than even Mahomes is, as great as Mahomes is, Yeah. So I think you bring someone like him in, that's a cheap deal. A starter from a Super Bowl team, you can do worse, I feel like.
Multiple. Remember, he played with Tampa.
Right, fair, yeah. So lots of experience there, too.
With good quarterbacks. Brady was pretty good, despite but I hate his guts. The last name I just want to kind of highlight here, just because for some reason he's 4th on the list, and he's one of us.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you see all this. I follow him on social media because he's always posting pictures of him working out and stuff like that.
I know, always.
And the way the season kind of developed for him towards the end, I mean, like he had an ankle injury at one point, which took him out one game, but he had some games, man, where he was just really good, and like he's just really consistent, which is fair, right? Because he did come off of really a horrific set of injuries, and I can't show the PFF grades, right?
Yeah,
that's the rule now. Apparently.
That's the rule.
I mean, the overalls, whatever they show, like whatever you can just Google and find on your own that's out there, you can share.
Just not the
even though the Denver game and the Patriot games were his highest graded games, right?
Okay.
And the last Patriot game, actually, he was in the last Patriot game. But they didn't have
2 of our weakest opponents, though.
He was good against the Chargers, though, which is interesting with Mac and I guess both of them too, right?
Yep.
Becton, man, bringing him back, I feel like would be tough for the organization, just because.
$5 million though.
Yeah, I hear you. I'd rather pay 2.5 for Donovan Smith, right? Like
you get them both. You theoretically can
that's what I was just gonna say. You get both.
Yeah, but
and see who wins out.
If or Fant, right? 2 of 3, draft a tackle anyway, have AVT play a guard, and then get another guard somewhere else, either in free agency or later in the draft, but probably in free agency, because I'll go to that tab in a little bit, but I think that might, it could happen, if they shoot out Smith.
I just don't think, like, if you're going to redo this offensive line, I just don't think there can be a world where Becton is in contention for a starting position, right? Like, if you have him on your roster for $5 million as a swing tackle, I think that may be palatable, but I just don't think there would be an appetite to have him, competing for a starting job. One injury
the upside
away.
Is there, though, with him, if he gets his footing in place, because his rookie year, God, Douglas got really unlucky. Him and both just got knocked out twice.
Yeah, my thing with Becton is a lot like what Adnan was saying. It's we're trying to restart. It's like a soft reboot of the offensive line here. I don't know how you do that properly and adequately by bringing back, one of the guys who's kind of been the poster for dysfunctional O-line. You know what I mean? Like he's been inconsistent in his performance.
Yeah. If it's cheap, it's cheap,
True. I mean, that might be his ultimate saving grace is just the fact that he's one of the cheapest ones here. I say you get him and you get, Donovan Smith and, call it a day.
And then draft one, yeah. But anyway,
draft one, yeah, of course.
Want to do guards now?
Yeah, let's look at the guard.
All right. So, by the way, I did not steal this all from Pro Football Focus, even though this is PFF War here, PFF grade here, and projection. It definitely did. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I don't care. If they come after us, that'd be great. We'll go little guy gets the big guy or whatever like that. But anyway, so here's the guard market. This is the top 12 per a website, maybe Pro Football Focus or not. Two of these guys are off the board. Two of the more intriguing names. Dotson was definitely going to stay in LA. There's just no question. This is just a LAR on it, but whatever. He got 3 for 48, which is interesting because these guys said 4 for 69. Yeah. And I guess 16 mil a year versus 17. So they were kind of spot on. This is the one that's funny. Guys were Cleveland basically was looking at 328.5 with 17.25 guaranteed and ended up being 328.5 with 14.5 guaranteed. So that was funny in itself. But they're off the board, right? Hunt and Zeitler are the two ones that are really intriguing to me. Hunt is going to be very expensive, but Zeitler is really interesting to me because he's theoretically the second best one on this list per the WAR. If that makes sense. But the age is the one thing that's a concern, but he was really good. So,
I think because we have AVT and Tippmann already locked in, I don't know that we need to be looking at the top of this list. I think here is where you save your money. Okay. I think tackle's a little bit more important, and we already have one really good guard in AVT. We get another, and who can also play tackle. We can get a tackle in the
but they might put him at tackle now.
That's the thing. I think we have to understand what their plan for AVT is.
Right. If they don't,
If they put him at tackle, then you need two of these guys. Right. And I really think that if you can get a Zeitler at that price point, what are you looking at? $7.5 million for an average. I think if you could bring him in to replace Lakin, right, and then that gives you more flexibility with what you can do with AVT. And I think even if you have to start Wes Schweitzer at a guard position, right? Because I think, Monty, you had said it, you're not going to have 5 starter offensive linemen.
Correct.
Right? It's just not going to happen. So if you can live with a Wes Schweitzer at one of the guard spots, I think you have the ability to really, add to this offensive line. But I think I would want one of Hunt or Zeitler just to lock a spot down on the interior.
I prefer Zeitler. Hunt's too much.
I agree.
Yeah. Also, the name that's interesting here, and I know Mekhi Becton does not want to join the Jets, then have Greg Van Roten also be signed because really destroyed his career. Guy literally destroyed. It's like Becton in that Carolina game was really good. He only gave up one pressure in that game of 30-something snaps, right? And it was the good.
Let's bring back Becton. Let's bring back Van Roten. Let's go bring back Fans. Tomlin's Lakin is still out there.
Better than what we had, right?
What we've had before.
Yeah. Oh man, that's
funny. Glasgow's also an interesting name on this list too because he was a stud too. I think Detroit's going to try and do something to keep him back. It should say Detroit here, but for some reason it didn't look up right. But yeah, that's one that's really interesting to me too. Jonah Jackson is also available too. That's interesting too in itself, but that's more expensive because of the age. Runyon at Green Bay is also really, I don't know how connected he is to Rodgers, but that could be a possibility too, which is scary a little.
Yeah, but that PFF grade in WAR, I would want no part of that.
Yeah, it's the worst outside of Ezra. The grade is the worst. No, John Simpson, Baltimore, but that guy was more of a backup, I think.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Both Baltimore guards are on this list.
And both Detroit guards.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think you should just get as many solid guys. You know, maybe
That's-
not
yeah.
the big thing. You know, on all this guard, tackle, and wide receiver, just solid guys that you think could work together. Because in the end, that's really what one player can make a difference, but really it's only at the quarterback position and a real, offensive line is a unit, despite the fact that tackle is a premium position, right? And you're probably going to draft one anyway. But at least if you go solid all around, you kind of hedge your bets a little bit by saving a little money here and there, right? And then maybe give yourself more of a best available option in the draft.
Guys, let me bring this up just to switch gears a little bit, but keeping the focus on free agency. I had texted this earlier in our group chat, and I know we're focusing on the offense, but man, some of these available safeties, like that's the spot that the Jets on defense.
We do need.
Tony Adams is the only safety under contract, right? So like, there's some good names that can come in and make a real impact on this defense. If you can go some of those solid but more, cost-friendly guys, you could put yourself in a position to bring in an impact safety. And I think that can help on the defensive side of the ball, because I think that's really the only glaring need, right? Because I think on the defensive line, you're going to be able to bring in veteran guys on short deals that will be fine, as the run stuffer next to Quinnen and coming out on third downs. Foley is an interesting one. Jacksonville released him. Maybe that's a reunion you can think about. But I just wanted to touch on the safety market a little bit because I think that's very interesting.
All right. I mean, I got a public website, Spot Track, up with all the safeties that are pretty much available right now. I want to get that.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Why not? Why not? Because we just steal our stuff from the internet, right? Thank you, blessed internet, for all the pornography and all the stuff on free.
It's called borrowing. It's not stealing.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like the pornography too. Yeah. Okay, so we got Jamal Adams up there. That's probably a no for everybody.
Yeah, that's a no.
Yeah, if it was like $2 million, I would be like, okay. Justin Simmons is way too expensive.
Yeah, way too expensive.
The market value is going to be absurd for him.
Yeah, Buda Baker's expensive, but I do like a guy like Poyer.
Yeah, that one could be expensive too, man.
All these guys are so expensive, man. Jeez.
I mean, $6 million, is that 6? Yeah, 6 isn't crazy for Poyer.
I got him free agent too. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, Poyer, got the
37. Oh, because he had the injury.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I think because I think they need more of a free safety type than a strong safety type in this defense. But
someone who can drop back and
you know what's crazy? Remember how we laughed at the Seahawks a bunch of years ago about them paying Smokey having the highest safety duo, and now they're both free agents.
Yep, they caught them at the same time on the same day. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Whitehead is here. We're not talking about that. Chuck Clark would be interesting to bring back.
I agree. That will be an interesting.
I always like Curse. I always thought that was the move when we had the chance at him, but we went Whitehead instead. That was interesting. Bird is also really interesting, but that's going to be really expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not crazy.
It's not too crazy.
What is just to look at him? What is Simmons?
You guys want to take a guess? I don't know. I'm going to say probably
12.
Yeah. 12. 11-1.
I mean, that's about right.
Thanks for guessing, Monty. Anything else here? Darnell Savage, that'd be interesting too for cheap, probably, but
he's young.
That's probably a big contract. Gibson, also very interesting too.
I mean, there are a lot of it. I mean,
Xavier
really would be great.
Geno Stone, 17.2. That's what I thought that would be in the range. That's it.
What about McKinney?
Yeah, that's another intriguing one.
It's gonna probably be a lot. Yep.
That's
too high.
No, it's a hard pass. Even though you don't have to change districts or all that or move. Whatever.
Yeah, it just has to walk across the street. What is Ashton? What do they say in Ashton?
No, they don't have it here.
They don't have one for him.
Oh no, that's
fine. I would have Ashton $4 million. I would do that. Anybody else here with a market value? Curl. Oh, that's an interesting name.
That's an interesting one. Yeah.
Yeah, 14.
Jesus
14,
Christ.
yeah.
He's
Yeah.
the highest one. That's crazy. I mean, he's
Yeah.
excellent. But
Look at the
He
age.
crushed it.
yeah, he's young. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, 15 million for a safety in this economy. Like, what are we doing?
This economy.
NFL, what the hell are you talking about? This economy?
I'm talking about the Jets economy. You know?
Do you think they're fucking broke, Adnan?
Listen.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah,
Raise the
right.
salary cap so the owners can spend more money. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, dude, 14 million for a safety in the Jets economy is insanity. That's what I mean. They're not paying 14 million for a safety, but I would love him. I would love that guy.
Yeah, but it's just not gonna happen.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. But you know, it's fun to think about. But yeah, I mean, I think they can go a little bit. You know, there's no way you can go in with your safeties as like Tony Adams and bringing back Ashton Davis, right? Like, so I think they definitely will have to spend a little bit on the safety market. I don't think you can do that. You know,
I don't hate that much. I don't hate that. You know, and maybe a Chuck Clark as well, bringing that back. Too.
Yeah, Chuck Clark would be a nice one. You know,
I think he'd be fine with that. You know, 100%.
Yeah.
The one thing
I
that
like
is
Chuck Clark.
with all this free agency talk, the one name of ours that's a free agent that we haven't heard much talks about yet, Bryce Huff.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. I mean,
he's gonna get paid, man. You know,
He's gonna go somewhere and get paid.
He's gonna get paid. Someone's gonna pay
pretty
him.
much. I mean, that's the the rumors from what I've been reading about, like, what was heard and whatnot, what went down on the at the combine, because these guys are all there and they're talking with each other and stuff like that. Bryce Huff is very, very, very unlikely he's going to be a Jet.
Okay, who wants to? I'll tell you what. Why don't we do this? Everyone take a guess on which team signs him. That excludes the Jets.
Oof.
I was reading the Commanders, but I don't know, man. I'm thinking of teams that have a lot of cap space, right? But if you like the Patriots, they need everything. I would hate it if you signed there. The Bears have a lot of cap space, but I think they're going to be focused on offense to support, Caleb Williams. I don't know, man. That's an interesting one. I have no clue.
Atlanta.
Ooh,
Atlanta has cap space and the need for an edge.
Yeah, and they have a defense. No, they don't. Wait, they have a defense coach, right? Rhea Morris is their coach.
I don't know what the coach is, but whatever.
Yeah, so I think they have a defensive coach. So yeah, I mean that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's a team that will spend on that.
And you're looking at I was thinking that, like I said,
out to Jalen Johnson.
Yeah,
he
just
the highest paid cornerback in the league, which is interesting that he wasn't the first because he was Pro Football Focus's top rated corner this year.
Yeah.
Sauce and Bland were I guess right there too, basically.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's definitely going to be a team who's trash right now with a lot of money. So Bears or Command. Do the Commanders have a lot of money? They have some money.
They have some money. The Commanders have some money.
So Bears, Commanders, some team like that's going to pick them up.
But I think John
Dan Quinn is there, right? Dan Quinn is in Washington now, right?
Yeah, Dan Quinn's in Washington. So I think Atlanta seems right, because if you look at mock drafts as well, a lot of mocks are drafting an edge rusher too. Like I'm seeing a lot of Dallas Turner to Atlanta, so that might be the move.
Yeah, although I really think, I don't know, it'll be interesting to see what happens with free agency because they do need a quarterback more desperately than pretty much any. I think that's the most quarterback needy team right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of Kirk Cousins.
If they have it solved, all of a sudden they're good, because that was the one thing last year that was really bad.
I mean, with those skill players and hopefully offensive coordinator that will get them the ball, I think there'll be a big surprise. They get a quarterback, they're the best team in that division. They're better than Tampa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
Just the last note, just housekeeping. Izzy is coming on the next show that we do. Next week, Tuesday, unless something happens. I don't know what it would be. Maybe my OnlyFans career makes an appearance or something like that. No, I'm totally kidding on that one.
It's our biggest guest.
New York Jets podcast OnlyFans account and just see what money comes in from that. It doesn't have to be nudity or anything like that, but literally, apparently, OnlyFans, you're supposed to do what you love on OnlyFans. Right?
Yeah, well, I mean, but Jets fans are masochists. They're not sadists, so they.
I mean, I think we can sprinkle in some like porn stars with like wearing Jets gear or something like that. I don't know. We'll pick. I'll come up with some ideas. I'll go back with the creative team. Like creative team is the three of us.
Yeah. That's us, you mean?
Yeah.
You
mean us in our group chat?
Yeah, that would be interesting. I mean, I guess who would be like the coveted Jets women of OnlyFans, right? I guess probably. Yeah, I don't want to say.
That's not
Zach Milson's.
The reporter that got dick pics from Brett Favre.
From Jen Seltzer, was that her name?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whatever her name is. Who was the ESPN reporter that Namath tried to kiss on camera?
Susie Colbert.
Oh God,
Namath, I love you, man.
Yeah, bad look, bro.
That was embarrassing.
That was a bad look, bro.
I think that's what made him stop drinking, right? Like after that, I think everyone that knew him was like, "Hey, man, you
might have a problem, bro."
Yeah, I don't know. I guess. Okay, so I guess we'll go to final thoughts, right? Adnan, why don't you start it off?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, Izzy's coming on Tuesday. This is an exciting week we have coming up. Tampering period, like we discussed, starts on Monday. We got Izzy on Tuesday. We're going to have a lot of good content. Definitely I'm excited to talk to Izzy. We have some cool things planned with him, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And now the offseason has started. Combine is done. Had a really good showing there for people that the Jets would really benefit from drafting. So I think we're on our way. And yeah, our next show we're gonna have Izzy, and we'll go from there. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yep. So my final thoughts: Fuaga Fashanu. I said it right. I don't got to hear John's shit. Fuaga Fashanu, one of those guys. Let's lock it in. Let's get it done. Super pumped for Izzy. Thanks in advance for coming on the show. And if you're still watching at this point, all three of you out there, like, comment, subscribe, and share our podcast. If you like, the content we're bringing, you like, what we're talking about, and you like my beautiful unshaven face and John's head.
You're also too, so but
yeah. Definitely, give us a shout out. Definitely, comment below. We'd love to talk to you. Love to, hear your thoughts, how we can make things, better. It's a hobby and a work in progress for us too. And then, just last thought is just, I hope we really nailed this free agency thing, especially at the wide receiver position. I think we've seen when Aaron Rodgers has multiple weapons, that he can be successful and he can win a championship. Last time, he had 3,000-yard producing receivers on the same squad. Last time he won a Super Bowl. I think maybe the route might be what we talked about in this episode, which is, instead of going for like a Calvin Ridley, maybe we get like a KJ Osborne and someone else.
We said Tyler Boyd
and a Curtis Samuel.
Yeah.
Well, no. What I'm saying is of that caliber, who are on the low, who are not, wide receiver 1.5s, you know what I mean? They're more like wide receiver 2s. But we just stack the deck, and then we always have someone available for Rodgers to hit, because he's that kind of a game-changing quarterback. But yeah, that's it.
Okay, now I'm going to show you how to say.
Hey guys, at Laugh Through the Turbulence, John Lovitz here. I have a question. Do the New York Jets draft Olu Fashanu? God, these guys didn't pay me enough to say that name correctly. How the hell? Anyway, at the pick 10 or Taliesin Fuaga. Oh, gee, really, with these names? Come on.
And that's how you're supposed to do it.
That's how you did it.
Oh man, that's how you do it.
That's how you're supposed to do it. So learn how to do it, man. Learn to do your
Man.
yeah, I mean, next week's gonna be kind of crazy. You know, what's gonna be even nuttier though. When we do the Izzy interview, we're not gonna probably go to Jet News. We're probably gonna do 2 episodes that day, that like back-to-back days, right? If that really makes sense. Just because there's gonna be so much going on next week,
Absolutely.
and for some reason we sandwiched Izzy in the middle of all that. But I guess it's his availability.
Hey,
so
look, it's just one we could do it.
Yep.
very excited for that. A local New Yorker, right? Which is good, right? To have that because we're New Yorkers. And I guess that on your jersey, technically, right?
No, I lived in New York.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
But now I'm in North Carolina.
Jersey, New York, right? Okay, fair enough. Monty's a New Yorker. I'm a New Yorker. So it'll be interesting to get a perspective from that too. I mean, hopefully this Izzy interview leads to more interviews with Jet players or like Jet by association or something like that. I did put a request in for Wanker Bet. So Wanker Bet, if you're watching, I got this jersey. So let's just kind of like, make that happen too. That'd be cool.
Let's lock it up, Wayne.
Be cool to talk about your financial practice and also like the chain of restaurants that you do own. And also Jeremy Rucker's dad, I'd really like to have on. I think that'd be really cool. But until then, I guess we'll just have to wait and see what the hell happens and what Joe Douglas and company have in mind. And just a healthy reminder, fuck the Patriots, fuck the Dolphins, fuck the Bills, go Jets. Thanks for watching. See you
Thanks,
next
everyone. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.